I'm not typically a fan of the whole discovered footage genre. If it works, it works, but if not, I just feel like I've seen it all before. The puke-inducing camera angles, the endless jump scares, and the slow build-up with nothing but people talking for minutes on end. After a while, it gets old. I remember when the Blair Witch Project jump-started the whole discovered footage craze. That film had some incredibly powerful advertising. No one knew when they first saw it if it was actually happening or if it was just an elaborate hoax to get people to buy tickets. When the film skyrocketed like it did and the actor stepped forward, all that was left was a silly movie with little reason to see it. Looking back, it's more memorable for its clever advertising campaign than the film itself. But it's also a testament as to why the genre continues to be profitable. Does the Blair Witch Project, or hell, any handheld movie since, look like they threw a bunch of money at it? Aside from the advertising, no. The drawing power of these films is that they're made for extremely cheap and reap the rewards of gigantic returns. It's similar to the Friday the 13th series and, well, just about any slasher franchise. They're made for pennies, but people like to be scared. That's not to say that I don't find some of these films entertaining. I really enjoyed Cloverfield, and in that movie you could tell it was fake because of all the CG. But nonetheless, it was an interesting take on things. I reviewed George A. Romero's Diary of the Dead 2 years ago, and although it was a tired use of the formula, it was interesting to see how established filmmakers were experimenting with it. But in 2007, an independent filmmaker named Oren Peli would demonstrate how this technique could be really effective. Originally, the film was passed around in the festival circuit. There were reports of people leaving the theater midway through, which made Peli nervous because he thought it was due to their general dislike of the movie, until he later found out it was because they were genuinely frightened. Eventually, the movie won the attention of big Hollywood execs, including Steven Spielberg, who acquired the film with the intention of making a big-budget remake. Big surprise there. However, given strong audience reaction, the studio decided the film stood well enough on its own, and eventually it was given a worldwide release in 2009. It starts off like your typical handheld footage movie, even thanking the families of the two main characters and the San Diego Police Department for allowing them to release the movie. How is that for authenticity? It follows Micah Sloat and Katie Featherston, who just moved into this mansion of a house, even though both of them are unemployed. Katie's been hearing weird noises in the middle of the night and reveals that when she was a kid, she had a paranormal experience.
I get that, but honestly, what was I supposed to say? I went on our first date, hey, there's a demon that I think...
No, but maybe on our 15th date or our 30th date or when we decided to live together, that might have been a good thing to bring up.
Micah goes out and buys an overpriced camcorder so he can document when anything strange goes on. At first, he's really annoying because he's in her face the whole time.
You stop following me with the camera!
The film also plays with all of those unsettling noises your house makes late at night when everything gets really still and your mind plays tricks on you. Eventually, Micah decides to plant the camera at the foot of their bed, where most of the scariest things tend to happen. For such a simple setup, it's amazing what they pull off just by playing with your head. There are weird, unidentified sounds, we hear footsteps marching up and down the stairs, and we're never quite sure if there's someone there or again if it's just the house playing tricks on them. The simple on-screen timestamp adds to the tension, and as if that wasn't enough, each night is given a header. At this point, there's a feeling that this movie is leading up to something, and things are only going to get stranger as the nights progress. They hire a psychic to evaluate any paranormal activity that might be in the house, and while it seems hokey and cliched, he actually gives a rational explanation for what could be the source of it. At one point, he warns against using a Ouija board to communicate with the presence, as that would ultimately invite the demon to engage its hosts and overstay its welcome. The most helpful advice he gives is to simply ignore its presence. Yeah, all the while they're kept up late at night listening to this thing stomping around downstairs. Yeah, I'd have no problem ignoring that. It starts off real subtle. We hear a reverberating hum that seems to emanate throughout the walls, and then the door opens and closes ever so slightly on its own. They don't know anything's going on until Micah watches the footage in the morning. What really floors me about this is despite what he's seeing, they're okay with staying in that house. Eventually, they do hear the noises, and whenever they go investigate, Micah has to stop to grab the camera. Everybody in these movies is more obsessed with leaving behind a video legacy than saving their own hides. The first sign of trouble, and guess what? I'm dropping the camera. I might not make a very big return on my investment, but I'll live another day. There are certain points where we see the timestamp speed up. That's the signal that something's about to happen. Like Jason's familiar echo or the Jaws theme, that's when you know that something is nearby. It's probably most effective when Katie stands at the side of the bed motionless as she watches Micah sleep. It doesn't seem like a big deal until you realize she's standing there for 2 hours. Eventually, Micah goes against the doctor's orders and buys the inevitable Ouija board, but Katie flips out and forces him to leave the house with her.
Explain that to to me.
I borrowed it.
You know what? I don't care what you did. You're going to throw it away. We're going to leave right now.
Okay.
There's no more camera. There's no more nothing. I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to hear it.
Katie.
No, don't keep me. I'm leaving and you're coming with me or you're not.
Whoa. Chill, babe.
I don't want to hear it.
Then the board lights on fire. It seems like we've seen scenarios like this countless times, but the way it's done here, with all the sounds and then the moving window curtains and plants, makes this really unsettling. This is followed by Micah pouring talcum powder by the steps, only to awaken in the middle of the night to find inhuman footsteps leading into the bedroom. Yeah, remember what the psychic said before about ignoring this thing? Why don't you just invite it in for afternoon tea? So after some more random happenings, they call back the psychic, who won't even enter the house because of all the evil energy.
It certainly doesn't like that I'm here, and I cannot help you.
I won't spoil the ending, but I'll just say that it's the perfect cap for this film. I can definitely see how some would view this as hokey, and at its core, it's your basic found footage flick. But if you were ever afraid of the dark or wary about the sounds in your home late at night, this movie will get under your skin. It's a great example of how this technique can work when done well. Can you imagine if this was executed as a typical Hollywood horror movie? It would just be two people talking, and once in a while some creepy stuff would happen. But putting us in the perspective of the camera enhances the experience tenfold, and I do say experience because to this day, I have a hard time going outside at night because of this movie. It sounds silly for a guy who until now didn't really like these kinds of movies, but I seldom get scared, and this one does the job nicely.